be here. Okay, perfect.
You're okay. I was like, why are you sorry? Your hair looks good.
I don't know.
You don't look like you just gave them the different Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
Yeah, but this what? I did like 30 minutes on the little
No, the big magazine blog.
yeah,
Oh, well,
and I was sweating like I was like running outside.
you don't. Oh, you had it. I was like, I would be able to tell. My face would still be bright. Yeah, I'd be like dying over here. My hair would be fine. My hair would be like half wet because
I wonder if he's coming.
yeah.
Get over here. How was it? Sorry. It was hard. What'd you do? Just bar. It was hot bar.
Oh, really? So we're gonna figure it out. We'll go on the house.
Yeah, because one of them.
Yeah, one of them she was wrong, I think, when she went through her correcting materials. So we'll go ask her. I don't know which one it is though, but I'm sure she
Okay. Oh yeah, she definitely did.
Yeah.
Do you think she even writes out homework?
I think she certainly doesn't. I think when she goes through it in class, it's like her checks for like completion.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think for sure.
That's weird.
Like,
I think that maybe in this class. We'll have to see about the test, but I think
I'm
perfect's a project. So like my friend was in this class before, like they just do a project with your group. I think you present on it, and a lot of times people like will make apps and stuff for it. So, but not like a mock app, like not like you actually have to like put it in the app store or something. Just say the function of it and what it will do. So something like that. So
okay.
I don't know.
But that doesn't come till later.
Yeah, so I'm
That's so
confused,
weird.
but yeah, it's like next week's halfway through.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, what? 7 weeks.
I feel like I've been here for like
Sorry,
a week.
a lot. At the end of next week, 7 weeks. Yeah. And it's technically 15
Are you
weeks.
guys all seniors?
Yeah.
No.
I'm
Are you
graduating
sad?
in December. Oh yes, I'm graduating next fall.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah, it's like crazy. I'm going home after December, but I'm coming back a few times. Yeah.
Will you graduate?
In December. Yeah.
You just got in accepted to Duke PT school.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Are you going there?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
That's exciting. You should be. So you had your interview and everything?
Yeah, I had
It
an
went well?
interview last Monday. Yeah, it went well.
That was quick.
Whoa, what the turnaround is quick for, we say like do your paper application and that takes about a month. And then there were probably like 48 people out there interviewing. And then they like called you at the end of that week.
You don't say the MCAT, do you?
No, I took the GRE.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
the
I was
MCAT
gonna say.
SAT. I said
Okay.
like 3 years before. And I
hate you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, I'm done.
When do you
I don't want
start?
that. What?
Yeah,
I do not like that.
When should we start? What freshman?
When
When should we start?
I mean, I lost my junior year and I did.
So I really hated having to
Okay.
do the geometry and stuff.
Yeah.
But like that was in class.
I feel
Exactly.
like
Yeah, probability of
because like I
God.
was gonna have a lot of
Probability. I'm like, I don't know any of those questions.
but I still
And then
just
it's
like
like
once a week, like to doing something.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever. Once I'm gonna do practice test for that whole. You forgot really good.
Excuse me.
But then like
Is that hard?
it's literally the worst.
Like worse than ACT?
Oh my god. The ACT is a
Duh.
joke compared to that test.
Wait, what is there really
The
an
SAT.
section on ACT?
On the ACT.
I mean,
No.
it's more of like memory.
There's like a physics and a math. There's like a physics and math section. But like a lot of things just kind of like. So I feel like my math is like the
Terms.
No, all of the equations like math.
It's all physics. I'm just glad it's not math.
Number and you don't know.
Wait, why would we need them? You don't get
You're gonna have
Whaler things. I might as well just be a physician assistant. Literally. Wait. Oh, I don't know. How was your day? How are you? How was your holiday?
Good, good. It was quick.
It was good.
Yeah, it was alright.
Name tag down, if you don't have
How
it,
many
rest your
times
sheets
science
here.
online?
What's up with you guys? What's up with you guys?
Oh, you know, nothing new.
Class, I think, for the game tomorrow.
Look like she's on something.
Emily?
Yeah.
Just a good
Full of
name.
energy.
Always. Would you expect anything else?
No,
Good. What time's the library open?
I don't know.
People were asking me, I've gotten emails, people have the flu, they're sick, they can't come to class, or they're gonna be out of town, and, they were wondering where the links were. I'm posting this, or I'm trying to post these at steemit.com after Psycho. And that is, Steemit is a blockchain blogging site, and we'll talk about that today. And if you look at the top, I'll try to date it with today's date and the time. So if you look at the date of our class and the time, and if you click into it, you should see a link. I don't know, we'll see if this works here. And it's viewers only, and then I have another link for speakers. So if you want to be a speaker in the class and you're remote, you can click on this link and join the class. Or if you just want to view it, let's see if this works. On this link and join the class. It's a little bit delayed.
So it gives you like, oh, it's like the
What's good?
Right, and then also if I wanted to join the
I'm
class,
asking what's good.
I would, if you wanted to be a speaker, and then, it's basically, when we're talking about the conferencing, I'm using, Hangouts on Air. You can click on the link and then we can have, you could be, your picture could appear and you could also participate. So, just check out, notice today the Steam blockchain was upgraded earlier. You may be experiencing problems, but for right now, this works. Okay? So people were asking me about that. And we did. Danielle, you wanna take a marker
Drink?
and, add it
Why
to
it's
your,
clogged?
does everybody have their name tags? Who doesn't have name tags? Let's put them up. Let's go.
Why don't you send that to me? I don't know. It's funny.
It's like we haven't seen each other in months, doesn't it feel like it? It really, I missed you guys, so.
Oh wait, can you get me one?
Oh, wait, yeah, I was gonna sorry. I was gonna make you do that.
And take a marker and pass it around so I can read it.
I like the one I have.
Okay? So that did work on this
I don't
one.
know if I can get any more.
You guys can give me a link back. I'll get them in the binder.
I don't know, 30 seconds. I just do that.
So let's
Like
go
freaking
back.
Otherwise, someone
It's 450.
this is probably the last time you guys will be able to get let out early. I was thinking, what does it matter to you? Letting us out 15 minutes early.
I didn't hear anything you said.
I have bio workshop campus.
You what?
Bio workshop.
HM?
Bio workshop.
Okay, what is that?
It's like they send out like the documents. They send out this, we
And
do
under
it, and then we go over
quizzes,
it.
you should have chapter 4,
We end it.
and
We
I'll
finish the
make
document. We finish the document. Okay.
chapter 9
5:50.
available
It's
to
okay,
you,
it's 6:15.
which is privacy and security. So I'm gonna edit
Probably
the
the last
text
time. He let us out
options.
early last week. He's like, this is probably the last time I'll let you out early.
And let me,
Still bothering you?
make sure, make it the link available.
Really? Why?
It's an interesting story.
So you think she thinks it's
Don't complain.
Wait, honey, did she just say that? No, she just. Was I going home from celebration or the state house?
Are you down?
Yeah.
You have to understand, it's like,
I'm so excited.
this is school, but like right now, there's nothing going on. Yeah. I have like one class Thursday, one class Friday.
So let me put out what we'll cover today.
What?
And one class Wednesday.
So everybody,
Oh, this your own class Wednesday?
No, what? I only have one class Thursday. 8 a.m.
It's like a vacation.
Okay.
It's like a vacation.
Excuse you. I literally want to.
Bring?
Tomorrow. There's like a Stella sitting right here.
Effective relative to the first test.
who has a sheet of paper? Anyone have a sheet of paper?
I can get one.
Good, thank you.
Is loose leaf okay?
Yeah, perfect. So let's make, then, Emily, let's make a roll, and then you roll, let's put in BTE 450.
Just do that after.
Put the date of September 26th
This is me.
at 6:30, and then put for the field, put first, last, phone, and then put upload forecast. You know, your forecast that we were doing. Put yourself and then answer yes, no, or I guess we can do halfway, half. Some of you didn't do, and then put yourself as number one. And pass along
The date.
sheet, and the last person here, just hand it to me, okay? So, you got that?
Yep.
I can erase it?
Yes.
First, last, phone, and upload forecast.
Okay. Got it.
God is perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? So today I want to cover overview of data. And along with data is that we need to talk about privacy, security, and breaches. And then we'll talk about an advantage on, we'll also talk about blockchain in healthcare. See, John, it just kind of goes, really flows. Instead of just regular, we'll go for regular healthcare. You'll be great on an interview. You can spit out all those acronyms to everyone, and it'll be familiar. And what do you want to do, John? What are you have any idea? Okay, so you can see, so this whole idea in healthcare, data in healthcare is going to be essential for and then we'll be talking about forecasting. So it's going to be data in all senses. Data is king.
Oh my God.
Data is king, and data is also our issues and our challenges. Okay, so quiz 4 for chapter 4 is up. Quiz 9, is that up for you? Yes? It's working? So quiz 9, yes?
I don't know why, even though I resubmitted it twice, it again marks me like an error.
For which one,
Same.
chapter 4?
Yeah, and 4 get the same
Yeah,
with chapter
Yep.
3.
Well, 3 of them, let's not worry about. 3 I'm gonna do for next week, maybe even for tomorrow. I'll set it up. I'll send you out an email. You can check it in an assignment. I'm gonna resubmit different questions for 3 because 3 wasn't good. I'll resubmit. But what's happening with 4? Let me go through 4 with you. What's the problem?
Every time that I submit, it only takes 9 out of 10.
Let me just- Anyone else have
Yeah.
that problem?
Yes.
And what is it? So that's the beauty is.
Thought I just got something wrong.
In the computer, how about it, is we always have issues. So basically what we have to do is try to figure out what are those issues. So let's work out together because I don't control the submission. This is done by Blackboard, which is where? Where's that located? What is Blackboard anyways? You have to say what kind of application it is. It's what, everybody's used it before, right? James, you've used Blackboard before, right? I mean, it's a standard here at this institution and many institutions. So what would you call Blackboard? I'm always trying to make it a teaching moment, right? So extra credit for giving me feedback. You think even if there are errors, you get extra credit here for giving me errors. And the whole idea, what I'm teaching you is not even specific ideas in technology, but basically how do you document and how do you try to solve problems or try to figure out what the problems are. So basically what Blackboard is, it's what we call an LMS. And what does LMS stand for? Beautiful, Danny. Learning Management System. And what does that mean? It's going to be a system to be able to record all for instructor, student kind of thing, or ways for postings, right? A way to keep track. And one of the things they have is they have online quizzes. So we need to go to chapter 4, right? So I'm going to go to chapter 4. And do you know which question it gave you a problem with?
Mm-mm.
I think one of them's like the answer is not right. Like the Blackboard thinks the answer is one thing, but it's not.
Okay, so maybe you made a mistake too, right? It's only, computers are what? In this case, computers are, you hear about AI, computers are just recording information and they can record it each time and it can be errors, and that's the beauty here. Nobody else is so excited as me as when there's errors. We can learn. It's a teaching moment, right? Edit the test. So let's, first of all, let's edit the test. Let's see what the test looks like. Okay, so it says here, the total questions is 10, the points here, right? Number of attempts, right? So in this case, which was the issue?
It didn't give the feedback.
It didn't give the feedback, so you didn't, okay, so we can change
think
for the
it's
feedback. What else
All
was
the
the
above
problem?
one.
I think, well, yeah, I think.
It wasn't that all the above, maybe it was
It may
that
not
one
have
more.
been, there's another all the above question if you keep scrolling, it may have been that one. Yeah, I think
I think
it
it
was
was,
this one.
yeah.
Okay, which of the following is not, was this the one that was wrong?
Oh, no, was it the true or false?
Which of the, and it didn't give you what the correct answers were?
No.
Okay, so let's change it, and let's give it like 3 attempts. Okay?
We tried
No,
to
I brought mine.
switch the one.
Oh, wait,
we
yeah,
ended up getting it.
Okay, which one is, you have to give me which, does anybody figure out which one it was giving you wrong?
We can go through them. It was that one. It's that one.
What?
It was that one.
Which
I
one?
think
What
it
is
was
that
8.
one? I'm seeing 10 of them.
I think it was number
that one?
8, wasn't it, Emma?
Number 8,
No.
multiple choice, all the above are goals? So this is not right?
No, that is right.
So so what's the issue?
No, they are all. It said it, didn't it? It was saying those are not, and they are all.
So which one? So it's hard for me to
Those
figure
are
out what's
all
wrong if
goals
you don't
and
give me
termination.
feedback.
Yeah, no,
Which
that
are
is right.
not.
That's right.
we know because it didn't show.
Okay, let's do,
what
oh, it didn't show you
about-
what you were doing, oh, it just said, okay, so let's do this, let's do test options. That's the beauty that we're together here. Okay, so let's go to
can go
chapter
through that.
4, let's go to edit test options. And, okay, so it didn't give you the correct, okay. So let's do correct and submit and see what happens. Now if you go back, does it tell you? Or do you have to take it again? You know how to see what you've done wrong?
Yeah.
Do you?
Here, I'll go back and see.
You can see it or not? Cause I'm not and basically I'm the instructor, so I don't get to have the view you do.
No,
It doesn't?
No, you can see it now, I think.
You see?
Yeah,
Go
it
in,
was-
where do you have to go?
It was you go into my grades and then click on the actual title of the quiz 4, and then click on the score you got, and then it'll all show up as like the question. So it was question 6.
Okay, very good, Kelly. Okay, so question 6.
Thank you.
Very good. So many extra credits, I'm gonna run out of extra credits. Okay, 4, okay, so what is it here? I'm gonna have to borrow them. Okay, you can sell them too, Kelly.
Sell them.
Right, you can barter. I got too many extra credits. Okay, edit, so I need to go edit test, and which number are we talking about?
6.
Okay, so you can go back. Okay, so 5, 6. It's great that we were together. So what is this? So it's wrong, the answer?
The answer is B.
The answer is B. Let me read the question. Okay, population health management requires a shift in industry perspectives and healthcare practices. Which of the following is not a characteristic of population health management? Collaborative teams of providers, keeping groups of people healthy, of course, right? Customizing healthcare for each patient. And so what are you saying?
You said
It
B
should be
is
B.
not.
Okay, offering care at centralized facilities. Okay, so if I edit, can I edit here? So, what's this one say? Edit. What's gonna happen here? If I edit, I'm not sure, I can, the question of 33 when we attempt here. I don't know if I can edit here. Which number is it, 6?
6, yeah.
Yeah, but it's 6, am I in 6?
Yeah, you are, just go up.
I'll
It'll
go up
say
on
answer choice
B.
B.
B. Here I go to B.
And now
And
that one's marked
let me
correct.
just see, submit, here, just submit. This will require regrading for 43 attempts for this question. I'm not gonna do that. But that's why we have the computer. See, John, this is why we want the automated system, hopefully. Let's see. Does that mean you can edit, delete, or print point values of the question on this page? And it's changing.
Yeah, fixed it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Yay!
I'm more excited than you are, okay? All right. That's a group effort if I've ever seen it, okay? We all kind of contributed. So that's the whole idea of
Alright, that was all you.
my philosophy here is that we gotta work in groups.
You're ready to
You know,
go.
there's a master's
stay
degree,
away.
anybody hear about this master's degree? It's called translational research. It's in the medical school and I'm part of that group. And what they're trying to do with people that are especially in healthcare, they have physicians that get a master's degree, or if you're just even undergraduate, you want to get a master's degree in translational research, basically bringing the medical field that you can into product or being in education to people. And one of the things that they were trying to do, and they reached out to me, is to teach them how to work in teams. So you guys are, I should have you teach it. Okay, so they want to have a course on how do we do team science, right? And that's basically what we're trying to do. Okay, anything else? So I'm gonna resubmit, I'm gonna put, tomorrow I'll put up new questions, I'll call it like quiz 3A for chapter 3, because that wasn't done well. So I'll put that up so you'll have quiz 3. Okay? I'm also giving you chapter 9, which is privacy and security. And later on, the chief security officer of the university, plus some people at the medical school will be coming to give a talk on how they're dealing with security here on our campus as well. So I wanted us to have that as an overview, okay? I'm gonna have an exam on October 10th. since I wanna have us being prepared, so put that in your notes here, October 10th. It will cover the chapters that we've covered in class, plus it will cover our discussions. And next week, I'll do a review, an extensive review. It'll be part multiple choice from the reading, plus open-ended questions, and I'll go over next week the open-ended questions, the type that will be, so there won't be any surprises, so you can prepare well, rather than, I hate it, you know what I mean, that you study completely the wrong way, you know what I mean, it creates too much anxiety and there's no need for it, yes.
He didn't do shit.
In the classroom or
Here,
in the
it'll be here.
meeting or?
It'll be, since we have issues with the computers being up or down, I'm always scared we're not gonna get internet and so forth, we'll do it on, paper, okay? And then we'll do a backup later on, we'll have a backup on the computer, but I've tried it on the computer before, but it's like, somebody had the hard drive down, somebody got their, whatever, you know, and we didn't have internet that day, so we'll do it. But bring, we'll talk about it later on. Okay, the chapters will be then, 1 through 4 and chapter 9. And we'll do a review, okay? What else? Anything else? Yes,
Wait, so it'll be
Nico.
on the 10th?
10th of October. So not next week, but the week after. So that way we can use next week for review plus other things. Okay, yes?
Did you say what format it was, multiple choice?
It'll be multiple choice and it'll be open-ended questions, and I'll go over it next week, the open-ended. So it'll be similar to the quizzes, that part, you know, and then there'll be, open-ended, we'll talk about it. Okay, what else? Anything else? And then I wanna go over also your homeworks as well. What were the issues, cause we haven't been, it's been way too long, and since we only meet once a week, it's hard to do it. Also, on Mondays, I'll stay after today in class and work with anybody in terms of your homeworks, or I'll end a little bit early and we'll do that. And then on Mondays, after my prior class from around 6:30, I'm available as well. And if you need to see me other times or talk to me, you're welcome to talk to me after class or send me an email. Any other questions before we begin? So, let's do a couple of things here. So we got the assignments. I appreciate your feedback. We got that correct. And now I need to do course documents. And in course documents, I need to do, let me go to PowerPoint here. And I'll do chapter 4. Where I'll have it open.
10.
And then
11 is my birthday,
also,
that's November.
I can eliminate this Stephen here. I don't need to see it.
Okay, me
I can say cancel here. And then I'm gonna do chapter 9.
Okay. That's quiz? Test quiz. How many points do you want quizzes? 100. 6. Fuck. We have calculators that we need to put in. Quizzes every
So I have chapter 9, I have, okay. I'm gonna get it one more, vital source of email. Bookshelf. then we'll cover part 1, which is National Health Information Technology, healthcare data, the healthcare information systems and information systems to support population health along with privacy. Also, you should have on your web links to be familiar with you have a number of links here that I'll go over with you later. So let me just start with just reviewing with us Chapter 4, which was supporting the population health management. And we had talked earlier about the ACO, but what I want to, and we talked about fee for service and value-based, and what's the difference, Deb?
Between value-based and fee-for-service. Value-based is based off of a contracted amount, and fee-for-service is by incentive.
And what does that mean in plain English?
I don't know if there's a complex way. Fee-for-service means that doctors code, and they get reimbursement by coding, and value-based means that their purpose is to not expend to keep their patients healthy, because then the expenses will outweigh revenues.
So it's basically the idea, every service I give, I charge a fee, and here basically if a patient has congestive heart failure, for instance, and I have value-based, it may be, for instance, Medicare may give you, let's say for congestive heart failure for a patient, let's say $100,000 to treat that patient. And if you can treat that patient successfully for $50,000, you get to keep the extra $50K. So it's not incentivized by taking a patient and just giving them more services because I'm going to make more money. I see you as a patient, Danielle, and what am I going to do every time I see you? Hey, let's do some more blood work. Why? Is there any evidence based that you're going to be am I going to help you to be any healthier? No, but I'm going to get more fees for it, right? If I start giving you certain operations, right? If I could treat you by just putting some cold compresses on versus doing some more surgeries, right? So in this case, what the payment model is that maybe what we should do to make us more healthy, we should do value-based rather than fee-for-based. And the idea here is to try to engage patients in the care process. So one of the things that I wanted you to do when we're thinking even about our projects later on is thinking about where healthcare is going is maybe what we need is more wearables, maybe what we need to do is more mobile activities. Anybody see the new Apple Watch? Well, what's new about that?
It has an actual electromagnetic heart monitor.
Right, so they're trying to, more of my wearables, trying to get that, getting in the field, getting to be smaller, getting to be the patient basically doing it, doesn't have to go all the time, getting continuous data, and in that continuous data we can relate to, aligning then quality measures being used in public and private programs. So we're able to do that, and along with it is if I do everything digitally, then I can have what we call stratification. What's stratification? Who can tell me?
The ability to identify a patient or cohort at risk for a negative health effect or preventable healthcare utilization.
Or having the ability
it means that you have, well, in this case, I guess it would be for tech or healthcare thing, that can possibly diagnose the problem before it becomes an issue without them needing to go to a clinic or hospital and pay the fee for diagnostics from a human professional.
So what's the key?
On-demand diagnostics?
But what else? Even on demand, but basically on demand, but what else? What does on demand mean? Ricky?
Immediately?
Yeah, but what else?
Immediate identification.
But how can I identify it? What am I gonna do? Just kind of, just go like this. I think a patient with diabetes coming in, or pre-diabetic, what am I gonna do? What is it?
You would set certain criteria that would underpin the system.
Basically
And
forecasting. Based on my data, given these characteristics, given this data set, this person is prone to fall in from pre-diabetic to diabetes. So I'm basically gathering that for forecasting, basically looking at best practices. And what I'm able to do then is in stratifying. You can see stratification is used all the time with marketing. Where? Amazon is a key for that. Google's a key for it. What are they using? How does Amazon do stratification?
Well,
What does Facebook use for stratification?
you look at age groups, you
How
look
does Facebook, how's Facebook such a, how much does it cost you to have, you have a Facebook page? How much does it cost you?
Oh, I don't have a page, I have an account.
Account, and how much does it cost you?
Free.
Free. It's a publicly traded company, Facebook, everybody know that? FB is its symbol, right? So how are they making all their millions?
Advertisements.
And how are they doing those advertisements? Just those sticking in an advertisement in Facebook? What's the key? They used to do that on a newspaper, like a regular physical newspaper, they used to stick in advertisement. Well, what's the key there?
They use algorithms and target people.
And they use what? And then they basically are able to forecast, right? Not only, and then the advertiser is able to say, I'm looking for people between 18 and 22 that are not even just college age, but go to certain colleges, right? And are a female that are also into taking exercise, right? And certain Pilates or whatever we're talking about, that I can pinpoint so much to be able to set those ads, right? So it's the same thing in that stratification, but it's the idea here with that big data. Remember we talked about big data, or did we? Right? In terms of big data happens is that I'm able to do some forecasting. And have then check what we call data mining. What's data mining? Anybody know? What's data mining? Let's look it up. What's data mining? Just sitting here. I'm losing my voice.
The practice of examining large database in order to generate new information.
Basically finding patterns, right? That being able to find patterns, and companies are using those patterns basically to do what? Take my existing customers maybe and sell them more, find what they need more, sell onto it. Have you ever seen, for instance, Amazon where they make recommendations? I bought these books and those people that bought these books, right? Or it's recommendation, these people like these trips, then you probably would like it, getting basically, you want it in terms of basically recommendation, friend recommendations, people recommendations. So it's the same thing, and then they're gonna be setting it to basically healthcare here. So it's really, the focus is on data to make better clinical decisions, and that's the key here. Not data for data's sake, but data to make better clinical decisions. And what's unique about the healthcare industry is what? A problem of inoperability. Meaning that it's difficult for various IT systems to talk to one another because it's difficult many times. Remember we talked about HL7? What was that? It was a markup language based on XML, extensible markup language, that basically tried to make my fields, and if I have a database, if I have a table of my patient data, for instance, my fields then, I need them to be named the same or mapped the same so I can then do analysis. Okay? And what we then have in the IT is I want to automate a lot of this and create then rules to my system. So it's rule based. It's all about data analytics. Danny, you're doing data analytics, right? Yes? No?
Yeah.
So what do you want to tell them? What data analytics? Danny's a data analytics major. It sounds good, right? And do you know what field you want to do data analytics in?
Not something in business, but.
Something in business. One of the things that really is a nice niche, there's so many, right? But a really nice niche is healthcare. Why? Loads of data. You can help people. It really, it's worthwhile. And guess what? They're compared to other industries in terms of the administrative side, they're really behind. So they need it more than ever. Their systems don't talk to each other. Like if you think about banking, those have been established. When you go and somebody gives you a check, Danny, right? Or sends you money, you really don't, your bank doesn't, and let's say you deposit it, you have a checking account, you have a bank account. If you have a bank account, nobody's gonna say, oh, I'm not gonna take money. I'm not gonna take it from another bank. Nobody's gonna ever say that. Nobody's gonna ever say, I can't talk to another bank. It may take a few days to do money transfer or something, but nobody's ever gonna say it. Even if they're not part of the network, you still can go to an ATM. Right? You still can do online banking. But think about the healthcare environment. They don't even have in the United States, they don't even have all their act together, let alone the United States even doesn't, but let alone the United States wanting to talk to Canada. Even in that case, we'll have to switch from US to Canadian dollar, right, to peso, even just in the America, right? And then let's talk about Latin America, right? We have a problem with exchange, but we could do it. We're gonna have to pay transaction fees, but we should do it. But think about healthcare. Think about Miami. You want to go to Doctors Hospital and you want to go to Jackson and you want to go to the University of Miami. All three of them have different systems, and do they share information? No. So it's difficult to do that. So think about their data analytics and what they want to do, and think about I'm really sounding from this, right? I sound like a healthcare recruiter. Somebody should pay me. Nobody does for that stuff. But it's the, and I say to myself, I'm crazy. What are you so excited about? Something silly. But I'm just telling you that you can see that is a need, and then you think about the whole researchers, right? That they want to just get unidentified data, that they want to be able to help people to find best practices. It's just needing this so much in this area, and there's so many needs and they're raring to go. And this health information exchange, think about it, that they're even trying to think about it. What other industry doesn't have information exchange? You're on the internet. How easy is it to get data, right? How easy is the exchange? And here they're talking about enables providers to composite clinical patient. And is can you get data easily from other institutions? If you want,
Most likely no.
it depends, even that she says it depends. And how many years have you been working on this, right? It depends, even from one section to another. Even getting from radiology, right, and from different divisions within the medical school is difficult.
I mean, now it's easier with Epic, but.
Right, but it's within one institution.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to go get data in Jackson,
We only get the billing data, not the clinical data.
listen to that. What other industry, you know what I mean? If you think about that, what other industry would you say that, you know, in the banks, like you can't get that, right? Or in retail, you know, sometimes you do it, and then they think about these that I just wanted to show you, and then all of a sudden they think about patient engagement tools. What's patient engagement tools? What do you think? What's a give me an example of a patient engagement tool. Yeah, I mean,
Like a portal where they can log in.
right. That was a big, can you imagine this, guy? That was a big, how long have we had that?
Whenever we got Epic, we got that.
Yeah, and that was a big deal, that we got a patient portal, that you can check your cards and you can send email to somebody. Wow. I mean, we're talking about, you know, a disabled industry here. But now we're talking about ways to engage, right? The ways to figure out, to view the doctor's notes, to refill prescription. Not only that, to integrate that. And now what they're thinking about is now in terms of mobile, right? Is to be able, what needs to be, remember what I was talking about, what did Amazon buy? That pill pack, right? What's Amazon? Amazon's going into the health industry. Why do you think, Danny, Amazon's going into that pill pack and starting to look at looking with a number of, they started looking with a number of companies to,
Because it's behind, like, you have to still like make physical trips to do things.
you know what I mean? It's like a no-brainer for Amazon. You think Amazon going to buy Whole Foods, right, a bricks and mortar, right? And why are they doing that? They basically want to merge those two together, that later on will be a completely different, probably in a few years, it'll be a different environment when you go to a Whole Foods, right? And they'll be able, anybody ever use their Prime? You know, now you can use your Prime card, right, in Whole Foods. Now every time they're tracking me, not only are they tracking what I buy, right, in my Amazon, now they know exactly when I entered Whole Foods, right? They know exactly what I bought in Whole Foods, right? They can now track me even more and sell me more. They're even going further.
What's interesting about like Amazon buying Whole Foods is that like grocery shop brick and mortars aren't like going anywhere anytime soon. Because I work for them over the summer.
You work for whom?
I work for a company that like did analytics for grocery stores, like for specific brands.
Right.
And it, like the research shows that they're not, like people are still rather go to the store than do it online for
Right,
groceries.
for a while. Right.
So Amazon like implementing their Prime stuff in the stores is like trying to attract more customers and like tracking, like you said.
Yeah, it's tracking, right? But if I do that, and I bet you that's gonna change over time too. And then when you go out the door, they say, you know, we'll deliver 2 hour, right?
They're slowly
Slowly, and then I'm gonna get those products and getting those combinations of those. But you can see, but it's still that sense, everybody's trying to make almost that retail experience. What happens with all those malls, right? The people aren't going to the malls as much, and they're trying to make it interactive, that you can be at the store and instead of be able to, even in the dressing room, to be able to order another dress, or to be able to see how you look and say, okay, now send it home to me or send it to me. Basically that integration. So think about the hospital. When I come into the hospital, if you're a VIP, via facial recognition, I know that James, the famous videographer and basically entertainer and MD, comes in. Wow, he's so many things, right? We have to give him VIP service, right? We can recognize already when he's when he's coming in the door and give him specialized service or whatever we can. And healthcare, right? The idea that they weren't able to have to sit in the waiting room for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Whoever thought about it? Who would ever put up with that? You know, now insurance, the whole idea of insurance, really, there's no insurance agents. I basically do everything. Online banking, it's that blending. But sometimes I still need that physical interaction with people. It's not, you still have friends that you meet, physically, there's still some kind of different, but it's kind of that blending, and you have to think about that healthcare being the blended. So these are areas in which, you know, that whole idea of social media, basically even getting people together that have the same disease. How many people have ever looked up any symptom they ever had, right? How many times do we do that, right? All the time, right? And the idea to get reliable information, right, in groups together that are coming together, people to be able to do any type of therapy. I mentioned before, you know, the Men's Institute, you know, that I'm working on and basically dealing with social media. Males, for instance, of stratification, don't like to go to doctors. Well, maybe we'll be able to text. Maybe we'll be able to do something else where we'll be able to catch those rather than down the line waiting too long. So these are areas in which you can think about it, that whole telemedicine. In the past, why has telemedicine not been even quicker? It's the idea of compensation, but that's going to change, right? So this is it. And that portal adoption, right, that's going to be changing. It's like a no-brainer of social media and risks and plans. So you can think about those challenges and that area of analytics and business intelligence. And then when you have then the data warehouse. So what, Danny, is a data warehouse? How can you describe it?
It's like a virtual place with all the data that can link together in one spot.
So what's that different than my transactional database?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Okay, a data warehouse, you can put in your notes here, is different from just a regular database management system. So if I have my, for instance, when I think about an EHR, right, an example of an EHR, Yami is Epic, right, but we can have many of those, is what do I have? I have my health information. In a system that I can retrieve with the doctor's notes and then I can have a portal. A data warehouse is an area in which I can do research upon. So an organization, an enterprise, doesn't want to take that EHR, their Epic system, which is live, where I'm getting my live data that's available, but what I want to do is maybe extract data from an Epic or an EHR and put it in what they call a data warehouse. A data warehouse holds it. You can put in your notes there historical data. And from there, what we can do is we can do different studies. We can do then basically data manipulation, data analytics, and then we can do forecasting upon that data, which is, you think about it as physically in a warehouse. What do you think about it? It's a big building. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big building, but what it is it's on basically, it can be on a different computer, but it's basically separated from the live data. And then I can do, basically in that, I can then try to do what we consider to be data mining and find patterns, best practices that I wasn't aware of. So, for instance, if I Google data warehouse, right? I see one, and AD means what? When I Google, it means what? Advertising, meaning it's AdSense, meaning are these paid for, or are these links that ended up being the most, what are these? These companies paid for it, right? Who's number two? Amazon, AWS of Amazon Web Services. You can see that according to Monisys, you can see Oracle. Anybody ever hear of Oracle? Oracle's a big database company, right? So they say, hey, we're into data warehouse, right? And I can think about Teradata, top 5 data house, Teradata, Oracle, Amazon Web Services, Cloudera, MarkLogic, top data warehouses on the market. What are they basically? Ways in which to manipulate data. And what they're using a lot of times with those data, so if I go to, and if they taught Amazon Web Services in your program, Danny, have you done any exercises with Amazon Web Services or no?
I haven't yet. I'm actually doing it this semester, but we haven't got there yet.
Okay, so one of the things, there's a number of what they call cloud providers. And that basically is, where does my data reside? So if I type in AWS, right, and I go to the second one, Amazon Web Services. Everybody's heard of Amazon, right? Yes? No? We've heard of Amazon. Amazon Web Services is the most profitable product Amazon has. And how do they start with it? Amazon started off as what? Selling books, right? And basically say, hey, we've got to have it online, I have to have a database, and I have to do services for myself and invent those services. And basically what they said is, I've done it for myself, I know how to do it, let me sell how I know how to do it to other companies. And they created what we talk about, Amazon Web Services, and I'll go over this, but this is interesting. They have other competitors, but they're probably the largest here. But if I look at solutions, notice here by industry, you see here, if I do by industry, it says automotive, it says digital marketing, it says education, enterprise, financial services, gaming, and guess what? Healthcare and life sciences. Solutions for increasing the pace of innovation, data lifecycle management, incorporating new technology into care delivery, and improving security and compliance. Because what happens with healthcare? What's the key here is they're governed by external bodies that say you must have security and compliance. You must have security and compliance based on which rules? Based on HIPAA. Yes, Dan?
Do you think that healthcare is behind because of the data being so sensitive and like regulations are probably like way more strict because it's like each person's data is that sensitive to that person, or is that just not an issue?
Well, they have to comply by that, but that's not why they're behind. Do you understand? Because banking, think about banking would be the opposite. You have money in the bank. Let's say you have $10,000 in the bank, right? Tomorrow you get hacked, right?
Yeah.
That money's there. Let's say they get your record, Danny. You still can go out and you still can enjoy yourself, right?
Yeah.
Right? You understand? But the bank is, think about that, so much more valuable.
Yeah.
Credit cards, right? They're going to be, but think about the bank, right? They're going to be so much more valuable. So it's not, now I'm going to sell the data, right? People are going to sell the data, or I can use it against somebody, right? If I get, a CEO find out that they were in the hospital, or they have some disease, or they have cancer, like Steve Jobs, he kept his illness secret for a while. People were questioning that because he was a publicly traded company, and maybe the investor should have known about it, but he kept that private. But somebody could have sold that information. Oh, I saw Steve Jobs, go into the hospital there for, you know, his problems. And that's what happened, you know, with, you remember, anybody know there's that Versace house on Miami Beach? That's there, and that was Versace. They just got sold, I think, to Michael Kors, but that Versace, you know, he was murdered, and it turned out Versace also had AIDS. And how do I know he had AIDS? It's not my business to know he has AIDS. But guess what? He was a patient at the university here, hospital. So how do I know that? Should I know that? I have no business knowing that. But how do I know that? It was written in the Inquirer. Anybody seen that great publication at the Newsline? Even when I'm in public, sometimes I look at the pictures, right? The Inquirer was written in the Inquirer. He had AIDS. So how did they know that? It was true. Sometimes, you know, they read stuff in it. How did they know that? Yeah, I mean, how did they figure that? Somebody got paid. It turned out somebody at the university that had access to the databases, right, was paid to give that information. Was paid by the Inquirer, right? That person no longer works here, right? And basically you can have a violations of it. So does that answer your question, Danny? So you think about it. So it's a combination. It's one because they started off. It's one that it was basically, I think if you look at other countries that have socialized medicine, they're even further along in technology because they have a group of people that are together that we can start creating easier for a digital market. But when each individual is privatized, right, it's harder to start sharing information. And now, even now, when digital is there, it's still communities are reluctant to do it. Even think about the prices. What other industry that you don't even know if you go in for an operation? And if I ask Yami what's going to be my price, she'll say it depends. I don't know what the price is, right? They don't even know what their own costs are. What other industry don't they know exactly what costs it's been? So it's an industry that's waiting to be disrupted, and that's why Amazon and a number, you know, and even all those tech companies are just eyeing it. Google's been trying to eye that, and you don't think Microsoft and all those other big companies, and then they can come in with these small companies. We're going to have the one I told you, Modernizing Medicine. She's a physician here as well, 1 day a week, but 4 days a week she works there, and she's coming in to talk about it. And who was the owner of that Modernizing Medicine? A young kid from Blackboard, you know, went to dermatologist and saw the same thing. How are you working so inefficiently? It's like a no-brainer. It's a no-given. And thinking about the world, right? Even thinking about like the Gates Foundation. What are they trying to do? Is the Gates Foundation, Gates, right? He knows technology, and he said, why did he go into those areas? It's fertile to be disrupted. So if you look at healthcare here, a good question is you can see here, cloud computing, add agility. Remember how we talked about agile by deploying, and then they're trying to see here web service clouds. Basically, the cloud means they're hosting it. That's what that means by cloud. We'll provide you the software, and look what they're doing. Genomics, biotech, providers and insurers, so the back end, life sciences compliance, healthcare compliance, life science resource, so they already know based on this, hey, we're going to get in the healthcare business. And once they start doing this, they start exploring healthcare to Amazon Web Services, right? Bring your tool sets to free data sets in AWS Cloud, accelerate time to results. Biotech, easy to deploy globally for any type of department, lab. Health providers, accelerate your digital transformation and enable advanced healthcare analytics. Look at that. And then if you learn more, right, that they basically then learn how Cerner, who's Cerner? Anybody know what Cerner is? What is it, Yami?
Another EMR.
It's another EMR, right? Another electronic health service uses AWS to accelerate the entry of their population health management solutions to new geographic. So what they're saying is we'll provide you the tools. You can do it in the cloud. We'll provide you the tools. We'll provide you machine learning. We'll provide you a lot of the algorithms. So before you needed to be an expert statistician to use machine learning, what they're gonna be doing now is they're providing you a lot of the modeling. And then you're gonna be, producing a lot of the models there. So it'll basically efficiently deliver, improve security and compliance, broad-based. So these are the keys. They're basically trying to see where are they limiting, and we're running 3x the number of servers than we were in traditional data center. So what's the cloud doing? What does this mean, traditional data center? And this has been reluctance too. Part of it, Danny, is because they're compliant, they say we're a little bit worried, but the other side of it is they haven't been high on tech. They've been in tech more in terms of maybe robotics in the medical field, but in their administration, they've been behind. So what does this mean? Put this in your notes here. Traditional data center versus we're running the number of servers in AWS, so basically cloud services. What's the difference and who cares? Everybody understand my?
So a traditional data center is kind of like a data center that's stored on site, like a physical.
So they
server.
call it on-premise.
Yeah, on premise. And it's on a local network page, so it's only accessible.
You don't have to be on a local network, but it's on-premise. So basically, let me just even give you, anybody ever use Microsoft Office? Right?
Just rest.
Do you know that you get Microsoft Office for free here at the university? How can you get it? What versions can you get?
2016 Office.
And how do you get it? Is it downloaded on your machine or what? I'm hearing a lot of mumbles. Raise your hand and tell me. Cindy, what?
Email account, when you log into Outlook, you can click on the home page and then right there it has a pop-up and you can either click to download a specific program like Word, or they let you download the entire set of like 8 to 10 programs.
On your computer, and where else can you run it?
Digital version.
A digital version meaning what?
You can use the version on the browser through Outlook as well.
Okay. So it basically, that's between the traditional versus, it's one is that you can run it locally on your machine, right? You don't have to be connected to the internet. Or you can use what we call cloud services, and you can run Word and Excel in the cloud. What does it mean in the cloud? That it means that Microsoft has servers all over the world, and basically you via a browser attached to it. Everybody knows that, right? Anytime you're using Facebook or you're using any of your other applications or Gmail or anything, you're using the services somewhere else via browser. Traditionally, Office and Outlook and Exchange were originally done here on campus in a room with servers, and they had some servers here on the Coral Gables campus and then on the medical campus and on Erasmus. And what they did is they hired people that were part of IT, and they basically took care and did the upgrades. So what has changed? If I go to the cloud, what does it mean? What does the university have to do? They don't have to hire those people to take care of those models. And what Amazon and these others say is we have more professionals here than you do at the Coral Gables campus. And you don't have to find people and then they're going to be replaced and train all these people. You can get rid of them. And this is the tradition, and this has been a lot of the things. What has been in healthcare is they said, and even in the banking, Danny, is they said, hey, we have to do compliance, just like the banks have to do compliance. They said, we're reluctant, in the beginning, we're reluctant to do the cloud. So what these cloud services are saying is, we'll be HIPAA compliant, right? So what we can do is we can be compliant and you can have your auditors and we know that we're gonna keep your data secure and you can rest assured and so forth. And we'll give you specialties. Any questions to what I'm saying? So you can see that among these, you can see that all their ways, what's for healthcare insurance, right? Customer videos, look how much money they're spending. Healthcare cases here, the core analytics, operations, compliance, and hardening. Build applications, improve their security and compliance posture, particularly via compliance as code services that automate security, like Amazon CloudWatch. You can also rely on an ecosystem of technology partners that improve monitoring transportation. If you right now in Google say ransomware in hospitals, do ransomware in hospitals, ransomware in healthcare. What do you get?
Greenfield, Indiana, $55,000 payout for
Ransomware and healthcare. Right? Scholarly articles, how ransomware affects hospital security, right? Takes the brunt of
Better
it.
get it on.
Look at this. Healthcare industry takes the brunt of ransomware. The healthcare industry takes the lion's share of ransomware attacks, according to SET report, May 1st. Why?
Because they need the information regardless, and they don't mind paying the money just to get doctors already to treat their patients.
Okay, but why them versus banks seem to be easy, right? Easy for pickings. Right, like Danny was saying, are they doing good compliance? Everybody understand my question? What's my question? Kevin?
Why ransomware attacks occur in the healthcare industry?
And if me and you, right, we're gonna say, hey, you know, we need to do something, let's do somebody kinda gave us this cockamamie idea, we'll do ransomware, right? I don't wanna kidnap somebody on the street, right? Me and you, Kelly, we're not gonna go and we say, you know, you know how sometimes you hear those stories, some drug dealer's kid or something gets grabbed or something from Colombia or something, and then we're gonna take them, okay? So we're not gonna do that one, that crazy idea. So, and then what else are we gonna do? We're not gonna go to University of Miami and wait outside and grab somebody and hope their parents will give us some ransom, right? Stand outside an elementary school, right? In some rich neighborhood and grab somebody. So I come up with this cockamamie idea, you know, let's do it over the internet, nobody will see us, right? And let's move to Russia or wherever, Ukraine or someplace, right? Where we can move around, right? And I'm gonna be sitting there, right? We come up and I get you to come up with my cockamamie idea and I'm say, what industry? And then we get Danny, cause he graduated in, data analytics, so he can help us, he knows a little bit about the internet, right? So we grab him, he was in our class, some cockamamie idea, right? Later on, we'll be on and only Russianik will be there with the handcuffs, right? Doing the perp walk, you know, you'll say, forget it, we ain't coming up with her idea. So what industry are you gonna do? So my idea, you know, Danny said we should do healthcare, and I said, why not do a bank? I'm gonna get the money right away, right? Banks have a lot of money, or go to somebody else. Why in healthcare? And what did you find out? How much money was it? 55,000. What else? Did anybody find any other amounts of money? Money hospitals pay. Go research. What money? 55,000 doesn't sound a lot to me to do such a cockamamie idea. Little stuff they're paying. And what are they paying? Any idea? Bitcoin, right? They're paying in Bitcoin. Why in Bitcoin? Because I have a cockamamie idea. They won't be able to trace us, right? We're going to Cayman Islands. We're going to go somewhere, Panama. Where are we going to go with our? Where can we go for $55,000? Nowhere. How long will that take? You know, I have more expensive taste than that. You know, how long is that going to last us for three of us? So my question, back to my question and my cockamamie idea is what? Why healthcare? And I'm only asking for a little bit. Right? I'm asking for all the healthcare, all the hospital. The hospital is down. Right, think about it, Yami, right? You come to work and say, hey, can't do surgery today, but I don't know who I'm supposed to search, right? I don't know what I'm supposed to search, I don't know their background, I don't know nothing about them, because somebody took over my, computers, and we had ransomware on this campus, just so you know.
I think it's the most vulnerable industry.
It's the most vulnerable industry, it's weak on controls. Because I know my bank here is not gonna be, I'm not gonna invade Google, I'm not gonna invade Amazon, right? It's weak on controls. Where am I gonna, it's like the burglar, right? When I have all my dogs barking and so forth, am I gonna go there? Or to somebody that has the open windows and easy target? It's like those same easy targets that I have here. Healthcare accounted for 45% of all ransomware attacks. Healthcare fell victim to more attacks than any other industry. Keeps on doing. Ransomware for 72% of the healthcare attacks of all of 2016. Potential effects in healthcare industry. Vulnerable. And what do I say to you? Great opportunity. I flip it and say, isn't it great that when where else are you coming out of school that you have so many opportunities? Somewhere else they'll start you off, small. You know what I mean? It's like it's already established. People have had so much information. These people that have been administrators, really their IT have been really foreshadowed here. So you can see here, epidemic, right? Recent incidents. What is this? At 2 urology clinics have left healthcare seeking a cure for a threat that has plagued the industry beyond. I went to this dentist for a second opinion. Really, this nice guy, but it was really like this really rundown office and so forth. I would never go back again. But he was telling me he got a ransomware. Some little schmo in Coral Gables, dentist. One person, I must pay, the smallest amount in one of those little, the Coral Gables in downtown Coral Gables that hadn't been renovated, And, I asked for, it took like 2 weeks to get my x-rays, and he said, well, we have to be careful because we got a ransomware attack. So even these schmoey little guys like this, So it's top for ransomware facilities. So you can see here that's the key here for the cloud services. So if you look at chapter 9 for the security and compliance, that you can see that what I want you to be able to know, and you can read that as you go, you'll be able to look at that is what you'll be able to see here is let me go to our 450 and we'll go to the web links. Just go down, it's about, what is it? Go to your web links in your regular section, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the 11th. You see here online data breaches?
Can I see what you see?
I'm going to open it up. Let's see what we get. What is this? Anybody know about this? Deb, you know about this?
What?
It says, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, we've all heard that, Office of Civil Rights, breach portal, notice the Secretary of HHS, branch of unsecured protected health. As required by section 13402 of the High Tech Act, the secretary must post a list of breaches of unsecured protected health information affecting 500 or more individuals. The following breaches have been reported to the secretary. What is this? Any clues? Did you find it on your? So Liz, what do you think this is?
Like ransomware.
It's basically what?
List of breaches that have occurred in the last couple of days.
What one?
It's basically based on the High Tech Act. What is
Or we're a
it?
student.
We have to be compliant.
In the audit?
Is healthcare
No, the
doing a
other
good job? What's the answer? No.
Oh, what?
So basically, what the
And then it's
government came up
called-
with an idea. I'm gonna do a wall of shame.
Online patient data breaches.
I'm gonna do a wall of shame, and if you look at it, I don't know how shameful anybody feels anymore. You know, shame has gone out the window. Doesn't it feel like it? I mean, if you look
Want me
at
to
the
send you
world,
it?
shame doesn't, it's not, one of the ideas, but this was called the wall of shame, and look at this.
No.
Go to,
Shame to
This
Bluegrass
one.
for having over 16,000 affected people.
right,
Just a week ago.
right, so you can see that. So even, you can even do by state.
Got
Go
it?
by state here, you can find, let's do Florida.
This one?
We know that, that's always a state that never has any fraud or any security problems, don't you think? All right, and I'm gonna apply the
That's weird.
filters, let's see what we get.
What just happened?
We're generating the reason for your report, right? And you can see type of breach: hacking, IT incident, theft, improper disposal, unauthorized access, loss,
No,
or
click-
unknown.
No, click the link. Click the title.
Location of breach: desktop, laptop, paper, EMR, network server, other, email. Right? Here's Florida, right? So I can even see, I can say what type I have, right? I can do this descriptions right here. You can see here, Florida, Wells, Orlando, Physicians, Guardian Pharmacy of Jacksonville, right? Florida Blue, Nova, anybody hear of Nova?
Yep.
Yeah, right?
Or something.
Right, Nova University, right, the theft,
What?
Stop letting.
right, healthcare consultants, right? And I can make it even in this case, right, that you can go to the next and you can see a number of different,
It's not
ones
questions you
that,
can answer.
choose the covered identity type, right, health plan, healthcare provider, right, that you can do, right? Apply the features we're generating, so you can see everything here. This Hall of Fame, I don't think really works so well. You know what I mean? I don't even, number one, how many people knew about this? Nobody, right? And we're supposedly doing, so how shameful could that be? And we're the sophisticated ones, right? So we don't know about it, right? So these are the ways in which we can do it. Questions?
We're done.
So you can see here, read through those securities that we'll talk about it next time in terms of security, but basically, what we need to know about security
Anything related to
is this.
being in a hospital.
Anytime you talk about security, healthcare, and healthcare, or whatever,
Maybe original.
guys, if you want to talk, write some text to each other. Okay, so I don't have to hear it. Okay, so I have here in terms of, because I have a hard time anyway.
My bad.
Okay, so we have something called CIA. CIA, it's not, right, Central Investigation Agency, it's not the CIA that I know, but it's basically confidentiality, integrity, and availability or access. So this is confidentiality. This is availability. This is access. And this is integrity. I don't care when you talk about this in data. Have you ever heard about this, Danny? Yes, no? So basically, if I think about data, I need to basically make sure that it's confidential. I need to have confidentiality of it, and in healthcare, I have to follow certain rules, right? That I can't have Versace, I can't have people on the database basically selling to the Inquirer and other places, hey, let's see who is now registered, and what do they have, maybe we can sell that data. Let alone that this data we can sell. And integrity, meaning that I can rely on that data to be correct, and it's timely. But that data, it doesn't say, you know, I have some disease, but I'm cured from it, but basically that I can rely on it. And what's the problem with all this security and what people hate about it, and I myself, it's so secure that I can't get access to it when I need access. You know, I have to remember all those passwords, right? And I forget my passwords, and they make it so hard. Now I need to get my phone, and where's my phone? And I have to do all these stuff, and all I want to do is, who cares if they get in and see my PowerPoints on this computer here? And then we have to measure what am I securing? You can have all my PowerPoints, right? That's all I store, right? You can have all my PowerPoints. Now, if there's other information that you can take, it's another idea. But if I have to do it. So here, what the key here is to get access and availability of what we call the need to know. Don't you hate it? Need to know. The basis, the need to know. So all insecurity has to be around not only my CIA, but also my need to know. I don't want your other grades. I don't need to know your other grades. I don't need to know your financial situation, and I don't need to know if you're on scholarship or not on scholarship. But I need to know if you're on work study because I want to hire you. And if you're on work study, I have a budget for work study that will allow me to pay you more than if you weren't. So I have the need to know that. You got it? Just like I made an audit section for you, that you have an audit section of that, and then the quizzes that I give you, I have control of. But if you tell me that and give me feedback, right, we can work together. So it's the same kind of thing that you need to know that. So that has to be available. And along with that, because there's always risk in data, everybody understand it? There's always risk in data. So can I be 100% secure in my data? No. Life is not 100%, right? We can walk out of here and who knows what's going to happen to us, right? But what I can do is I can take precautions, I can take controls, that if I'm at 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe I want to call up for an escort, right? Maybe I want to lock my doors, right? Maybe I want to put on the alarm. But if I have a $100,000 condo, I'm not going to put $1 million of what? Security equipment on it. So I need to know that standoff there for it, but I need to make sure that I have the proper controls. So the whole area is controls, and there's physical controls. And what's a physical control? Is basically I got to lock the doors. And there's administrative controls that basically I need to be able to make sure that certain people that say who they are, I have to authenticate them, and they have either read privileges or read-write privileges, and they have all those. Those are basic kind of things. Security is basic in any type of industry. But what it turns out to be is why are they more vulnerable? Is one, that data traditionally has been, they've probably been the last industry to go from paper to digital. Think about it. Has anybody ever been to a doctor where they had paper? You ever have a form in the doctor's office that you're filling something out in paper? Who's ever had that? Right, where do you ever see that? But think about it, they give you a piece of paper with a pen and a little clipboard filling out information. Is that efficient? Is that crazy? You know what I mean? Is there a way in which this should be, right? You have printers? They keep on printing, right? You thought that went away. You don't see printers in other areas. Maybe you see when you're in Publix or something, when you get your receipt. Most of the times people say, a lot of times they say, do you want me to email you your receipt? Right? Apple a long time ago, right? When you buy stuff at Apple, right? What are they doing? They're not asking you to fill out a form on paper. Here, fill this out. Tell me what you want. Check off. We'll have somebody else go ahead and, right? What other industry does that? But again, how can I be happy, right? It's an opportunity that this needs to be changed. And that you're going to make a service and you're going to be more efficient. And finally, we can make better healthcare decisions. And then you have a lot of people selling stuff in this industry because they think that they're so vulnerable, that can be here. So this is the key. So, I think I got a little too excited over this, but it's okay. All right, so at least I entertain myself, if not you. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to go back to, so you can see here that once you go back to these PowerPoint, and the PowerPoints, I'll just even enable it here. That you can see here, I'll just give you an overview, and then we'll talk about this more next time from this, is you can see what they're going to be talking about. Confidentiality, right? The HIPAA, all of a sudden I need privacy, security, breach notifications, identify the threats. So where are the threats coming from? In any organization, it could be human. And I told you, right, Versace is a human one, right? Most of this, I can tell you stories about our institution, which are incredible. And the reason I can tell you this is what's in the paper, right? I'm not vouching anything. Remember the one with the pharmacy? Remember that one? This is a great story. You'll love it. You won't really cry about it. There was a guy worked in the pharmacy for a number of years. And what did they want to do in the pharmacy? What's important in the pharmacy to control? Meds, right? And what do they want to control, Gabby? If you work in the pharmacy, right? Right? Or you had somebody in the pharmacy, what do you want to control?
The distribution of the medication?
Yeah, the distribution, right, of the medication. So what do I have always? Threats. I want to see what is most vulnerable. And what do I want to control? Or what do I want to minimize the risk of? Of those areas in which would be most costly for me. Either cost in what? Money, cost in resources, cost in reputation, cost in damage. This is the key for anything. But in healthcare, God, there's a lot of those. There's threats. Safety is the number one. You want to be a surgeon, Gabby, right? You don't want to be cutting off the wrong leg, right? How many times have they done that? You think, oh, isn't that simple, right? Coming into surgery, who could think, right? I know what leg needs to be cut off, and have you heard those stories, right? I come out and I got the wrong one. Now you have no legs. You know what I mean? You needed the other leg anyways, right? So it's the idea of those threats, but those controls that I have to set up. So this was the pharmacy. Let me tell you the story. It's a great one. So what happened is I'm always thinking about control. So they had a camera. So what do I want to do? So Gabby, me and you were going to go together. Kelly had a cockamamie story with her. I got my ID. So with you, Gabby, I'm gonna go straight, right? I'm gonna do my duty. And I said, you know what? We're gonna start up a consulting company. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take Danny's idea of this area that needs controls. Pharmacy is the first one we're gonna do. We're gonna do security audits of an institution and say, this pharmacy area, we're gonna do controls. So my idea, you see what we have up there on the ceiling? Cameras, right? What kind of camera is that? Anybody know?
Security camera?
It's a security camera, and how's it controlled? It's an IP network camera. What does that mean? What does IP mean? Internet Protocol. So what it stands, IP, you can put that in your notes there. It also intellectual property means, but in this case it means Internet Protocol. What does that mean? It means that I can get access to it via what? A web browser, right? So this camera, everybody know this? This camera, I can get access. If I know the username and password, I can get access anywhere in the world to see what's here. So what I have here is, so we're gonna put in a camera. Give them the idea. So what did this person do? Worked there for years. And all of a sudden, you think of all these controls, he got caught. This person working there. And how did he get caught? You think all these controls, and how did they usually get caught? Well, it's always greed, right? But how did he get caught? And you wouldn't believe it. This guy was stealing and doing stuff. It was horrible. He was stealing cancer drugs and watering them down. So we could have, so if I had one vial, he would basically water them down and like get 10 vials out of it and then sell them. And he was so stupid, he stored it in his mother's, I don't know, his bedroom in his mother's house or something, in this little refrigerator or something. He went on for years on that. And how did he get somebody finally that worked in the pharmacy told on him? And they found out that that camera they had in the ceiling, one is nobody looked, right? There's here, but does anybody look? Does this even work? We have no idea. Do you see it moving? It should be, right? There should be what? It should be what? Some kind of motion detection that it should be moving. Is it moving with me?
I think it probably has a view of the whole world.
I think it's a fisheye camera, but.
But anyways, but it should be, and so you can zoom in. I know I have controls from here that what I used to do instead of using these cameras, I used to use those cameras. What I did is I repurposed them because nobody was using them to broadcast I wanted to use these to broadcast my classes to. Give people the username and IDs because nobody else uses, nobody knew. They spent thousands of dollars in these rooms to focus. They asked me what cameras to use, so I said, why don't we use IPs? But nobody bothered to see. We don't know if it works. We don't know if they check anything. I'll tell you another story. I know that sometimes they don't. But anyways, in these is that they didn't even know. Gabby, we installed them. We made great recommendations, but number one, the cameras didn't always work, and nobody checked them. So as he's taking, he doesn't even try it, as he's taking it from the drawers, right, nobody realizes he's putting it in his bag and taking it home with him. I mean, we're not talking about sophisticated, algorithmic, cracking the codes of algorithmic programs. So these are the things, understanding the purpose and key components of security and identifying resources. So we'll go more over this next time, okay? But I just wanted to give you an overview of why I want to include this. When you were asking me, Monica, why I want to include this in the exam, was it's the key to essence of data is securing it, and especially we needed, if we can figure out ways to prevent something like ransomware, Danny, that would be just tremendous because you see that's that industry, and why are they choosing it? They're choosing it is they're the least secure. They're doing simple things that they get in, phishing exercises, do a little email, somebody clicks on a link, and we get into the server and the network, and basically they lock it. You want it, and they're probably guys from Eastern Europe, Ukraine, who knows where they're from, right? And they say Bitcoin, $50,000, one paid $17,000, $35,000. What is that for an institution, right? To get anybody there, I'm going to call the FBI. What are they going to do for me? And how much is it in calling some company? But they say small amount of money. Do it for, try it out on 1,000, 10,000 institutions, right? That they're doing because they haven't been secure. Okay, we'll have the chief security officer come, and you can ask her all those questions, right? The past security officer is no longer with our institution, and what can I say? There were some breaches that were here that somehow, I don't know if he was responsible, but that was a good person to fire. Okay, so the other thing, let's do this, is Blackboard. And let's go to audit. And let's go to course documents. So, is Lauren or Daniel here?
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel, Fiona contacted me, so you can give her that link of Steemit at the cycle and tell her she can review the lecture. So did you guys do the homework?
Yeah.
So let me just go to you because I was looking, I didn't know what group she was in, and you did the Excel forecasting. And can I bring yours down?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna do open, and what do we get? So what do we got here?
I put all three of the stops that were done in the same thing.
Okay, and what did you find?
Regarding what, the graph? Or like-
Yeah, first of all, the graph. So you have here, so one graph is telling me what? It's going up, and the other one is telling me it's going down, right? And then what else did you do?
I did the linear and polynomial, and then if you scroll over to the right, I just did the game top left, top right, yeah.
Okay, and then you did the gain between the,
The R's.
okay, and the gain there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the gain was, okay. So what's missing here? What we need to do, and what algorithmic trading is setting rules to the computer. Remember, we looked at it a while back. And basically, what's happening here is what? The linear is telling me what? What direction is the linear telling me? Kelly, what is it telling me, the linear?
It's gonna increase.
It looks like interest, and the polynomial tells me what? Going down. So maybe a rule could be if both, listen to this rule, if both the linear and the poly go the same direction, then trade. If they both go down, then short. If they both go up, trade. It could be a possibility. The other one could be that I can do, but what is missing here is he's telling me the gains, but what I need to know is what's going to be the next day. I know I want to be able to see how accurate my model was. And that's what, Gabby, I need to add to it. You did such a great job last week. You remember when we were together on last Monday, is what we need to do is add to it what's going to happen next. So, what I want to do is, that's nice. I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save your work. So, what I want to do is, let me go back to Blackboard and see if I have it here. And if not, I'll open it. Let me go to Blackboard, KY. Let me go to course documents. You see here, let me see if I have it here, Excel forecast. Okay. So I have it, you can try it out. I have it, if you go to the regular course, go to course documents and look under my Excel forecast, you can open it up. And what I did was what I wanted you to do for next time is now what do we need to do? I need a forecast, what's the next day gonna be? And then I wanna compare what I got, the actual from what the forecast says. Will it be 100% correct? What do you think, Abby? Well, of course it won't, but what it's gonna be over time, I hope that the errors will shrink. And if not, I may go ahead and try to do another type of analysis, and maybe my forecast, or it may work better with other stocks. So what I did, and what I'd like you to do, is I forecasted their built-in formulas in Excel. You see here where it says functions? Let me just even go to another cell. You see here where it says functions? And if I go to not most recently used, but if I go to, let's say I go to all, and I type and I look for forecast, yeah. See, if I go to forecast, I can go to a number of different types of forecasts where I can do it. Also, if I just go here and I say equal, did I do equal? I did minus. If I say equal, I did it twice, huh? Forecast, you see here, and do forecast. I can do different types of equaling on forecast to forecast, and in this case, let me just remove this. In this case, what I did was I used a forecast linear. So I used a forecast linear where I then forecast, what I want to forecast is, let's say Monday, September 17th, from B3 through B24, comma, through A3 through A24, and I got 229.24 for my forecast. But what I want you to see is you can figure out what the actual is by basically what we're talking about, almost forward testing here, is you can figure out what the actual is and find out what the error is. So what I'd like you to do is go back and do your forecast on, let's say, 30 days, and then leave out a number of days that are outside the range, and then be able to see if it could forecast accurately for you. Do you understand that, Danny?
Yeah, can we just use the same spreadsheet we have?
Yeah, you can use it and just add on to it.
Yeah.
But what I'd like you to do is do different time frames. So don't do it for one, but do it, let's say, for 4 or 5 periods, and see how accurate the forecast is, and put it in another sheet, basically an overview of how well, does it underestimate, does it overestimate, and does certain stocks do better than other stocks in the forecast?
I have another question.
Yeah, sure.
You're using the date as one of the variables. Does it matter how the dates function, how it's formatted?
It doesn't matter, because when it'll take it as a Julian date. I do it so I know what day it is, so I don't really worry. I don't want to do Saturday and Sunday, because the Saturday and Sunday it doesn't trade. So I just put it out. But it's a great question. It's as if we rehearsed it. Did you hear what his question was? Nico, did you hear his question? Ask your question again.
I asked if it matters how the date is formatted.
because we're using it as X, and the question I'm asking to you is what does Excel do with dates? Does it do arithmetic operations with dates? We're using it in the formula, right? We're getting a number out of it. So I would even know that yes, it does something with dates, but what does it use? How does it do any computation? Look up Julian date. If I take a date and I reformat it, you see here date, and I reformat, what is a Julian date? Who found it? Keys to the Mercedes in the, I don't know if it's still there. Maybe I forgot to lock the door and I put the key in the ignition or in the trunk. What is it? Anybody find Julian date?
It's the integer value of the date.
It's an integer value of the date. Perfect. And where does it come from? Well, how does it come up with a number?
It counts like the number of days and
From what?
years.
So, from where? Everybody should know that. Huh? Where does it start from? What's the Julian date? Hmm? Did you look it up, Lauren?
Yeah,
What'd you find out?
it was just like showing pictures of the.
Anybody find out? Todd?
The beginning of the Julian period was 4,713 BC.
And it starts numbering. So then that's how Excel does numbers on, that's why it turns really into integer. So the way this is just display. This is sort of like, remember how did I tell you about, I know I did, but maybe you don't remember, HTML? Remember how it looks to the user? This is basically just how it looks to us. But really in the back end, what happens, James, is it's doing calculations on numerics from basically what they call the Julian date, and every day gets a number from that. And that's how we know one number coming from the other. So what I'd like you to do for next time is take then this, take it on a couple of stuff, but what would really be interesting is to go along like three or four or five periods of trying to see how it forecasts. So you can even start in, even you can start before September. You can even start in August, see August month, and then you can go down to September, or even take every 30, but then know what are the actual dates so you can see how well it forecasts. Because we have something called back testing, and then we have forecasting. And then what I wanted to do from William is, since he's done the Ninja Trader, and I had some other people here that are interested, maybe you can work in a group with Danny. I know Cindy was interested, and some